The No Nonsense Roundtable. It's a weekly show broadcast on Rochester, New York's 50,000-watt iHeart radio station, News Radio Wham 1180. The host, Dom Geneva, interviews guests from all walks of life, all with amazing stories to tell. What you are about to hear is a recording of a previous broadcast without the breaks and commercials. Now, here's host Dom Geneva.
Well, welcome to another edition of the No Nonsense Roundtable. I'm Dom Geneva, your host, every Saturday right here on News Radio Wham 1180. And all the old shows, like I like to tell you all the time, are on nononsenseroundtable.com. So I am very, very lucky today to have a guest and a co-host. It's the same person. It's Christian Garzone, formerly from Channel 8. Great story about his life, his military service, and talk about somebody that everybody should know, is because they saw you on TV all the time, and should know more about because you have a very, very, very interesting path in life there, Mr. Garzone. So welcome. The both of you.
Both of me, yeah. Well, it's a pleasure to be here, Dom. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate this.
Well, you might want to reserve that to the end.
Yeah, ask me at the end of the show.
Yeah, how well we did. Okay, so we were talking a little bit before the show, and the question I always love to ask people is kind of the comical question. What did you want to do when you were 10 years old? Because nobody would say that you had any inclination your life was going to be like it is right now.
No, I wanted to be a bartender, and let me tell you why. My family had a restaurant, Cafe Garzone in Syracuse. It was the first speakeasy, I think, opened during Prohibition. My grandfather opened it up, and I was fascinated with Cafe Garzone. It was on South Ave in Syracuse, and my Uncle Danny would be tending bar, and I said, that's what I want to do. And my art teacher, I drew a picture of me as a bartender, 30 years from now. My art teacher said, what are you, she's trying to talk me out of it. I said, she didn't understand my connection to an actual bar that I would sit and have Shirley Temples and soak in the music and the people there. And that's really what I wanted to do. And, after, my life in news and the military, I wouldn't be too bad to maybe be a bartender for a little bit.
What, did you ever play that when you were a kid? Had like a play bar and a bouncer and, and stuff like that. You throw some of the 8-year-olds out because they got overserved on too much lemonade. Shirley Temples or something like that.
Too much. No more ginger ale for you. Get out of here. Yeah. No, it's just in my own mind. I thought it was a good idea at the time, and who knows? I'm still youngish. I just turned 42, so the whole life ahead of me.
Well, there you go. You could always fulfill your life stream and become a bartender.
You never know. There you go. 10-year-old me.
Yeah, with the economy going these days, who knows, right?
Everyone's drinking the way the economy is right now, too.
So are you a Rochester guy?
I live in Greece right now, but I'm from the region. I was born in Syracuse, but my parents live in Clifton Springs. So I work in Rochester, but live in Greece right now.
And let's see, where'd you go to school?
Went to Mid Lakes High School. Mid Lakes is in between Phelps and Clifton there, the town of Manchester Phelps. Graduated in 2000. Then went to FLCC, Finger Lakes Community College.
Oh, yeah.
It's great. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, so I thought I'll get my associate's degree and figure it out later. And in between that time, 9/11 happened. In 2001, I was about 19 years old, and that, to me, in the back of my mind, I said, I have to do something. I can't just look back at my life at, say, 40 and think 9/11 happened. What did you do? And I said, I've got to serve some way, somehow.
Was it an immediate thing for you, like the next day? I mean, that's what happened in World War II, right after Pearl Harbor. I mean, just people lined up in droves to volunteer for the service.
Yeah, it was more like that voice saying, you got to do this, way in the back of the head. And it was just, how do I achieve that? And it took about a year because I had to, do my push-ups and run and figure things out. And I didn't want to, you hear the horror stories about, well, my recruiter really screwed me over. Now, I didn't want to have like a bad experience where I got sent somewhere I didn't want to go or whatever. So it was a careful choice I made, and it took about a year. But I signed up in about 2003 finally. So maybe it was a year and a half or so.
And what branch?
Yeah, Navy. U.S. Navy. And I thought to myself, the Navy goes all over the world. I want to serve, but I also want to travel a bit. And And my mom's from England, so the British have this whole nautical tradition, and
they had a few boats.
They had a few boats. Still a powerful navy over there. Yeah. So that's where that came from. Service was at the core of it, and I decided I had to do something.
What's the most difficult thing serving in the Navy as opposed to the other services?
I would say I was on an aircraft carrier for 2 years. Yeah, USS Nimitz.
It's like 6,000 other fellas and gals.
Yeah,
right?
a lot of boy oh boy, the very very cramped quarters. You sleep in kind of on a shelf, and you kind of pull those curtains aside in the morning, and you've got someone else's butt cheeks right in your face, and it's very very tight, and it's the ability, not the ability, but the chances of people kind of losing their cool because you're so close together constantly is a challenge. And especially when you're in the Persian Gulf, like we deployed in 2005 in support of our Operation Iraqi Freedom. So it was, 120 degrees and you're on the water. I think you would pee twice, maybe once a day if you're lucky, because you're just so dehydrated and agitated. But you kind of got to put those feelings aside and bury them because you have to work together. Every day there's a mission to do. You got to figure things out. So it was a challenge in the best way, I would say, looking back on it.
So how many years were you in the service?
I was in the Navy for 5 years. So I eventually became a military journalist because that's what I wanted to do. So I fought really hard to, I didn't really have a job for 2 years, but I fought really hard to work with the journalists and the videographers and the photographers. And eventually I got orders to Fort Meade, Maryland, which is the Defense Information School, same school that Bob Lonsberry went to, but he was at a different location. So I became a military journalist, and I got orders to Japan. I was a radio DJ. Yeah, I was radio DJ in Japan, right in Tokyo. The same school, same job as Good Morning Vietnam. Robin Williams there.
It sounds interesting.
Very much so. But I did not know that I have epilepsy. I didn't know. So I had 3 horrendous seizures towards the end of my my time in the Navy, and I had to be retired. Awful seizures, Dom. I mean,
really?
Chewing your tongue off just about. I threw my shoulders in and out of their sockets. I didn't know what was going on at first until I had to go to see a neurologist, and they're like, oh my God, your brain is highly epileptic. So I was retired medically because of that.
And how are you now?
Doing just fine. I have to take medication that kind of makes me a little tired and grumpy, but it does the job. I haven't had a seizure in a very long time. So.
Oh, God bless you.
Yeah.
I mean, who would have known, right?
Yeah, I didn't know. I had no idea.
Well, it's a good thing you live in this day and age too. It wasn't that long ago they couldn't do anything about that.
Yeah, he's got a demon in him or something. You never know. I mean, yeah. And do not put a spoon in somebody's mouth. If somebody's having a seizure, don't put a spoon in somebody's mouth. That's the old. Everyone thinks that's a great thing to do.
Yeah, he's possessed by small gnomes.
Gnomes and fairies.
Fairies. Let's put leeches on him. That'll solve. That'll solve his problem.
And it's all at the barber shop. That's where they do it all there. Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. There's a small spirit living in his spleen. Yeah. So, a journalist. Now, what would you be writing for as a journalist in the service?
Well, primarily I was a radio DJ, so the objective is to get command information to the troops, right? Sprinkled in with a lot of music to get the messages out of the commander, things like that. So it would be a lot of just what events are happening. Don't do this, don't do that, and then here's some great top 40 hits for you, or some classic rock.
So it's sort of like you're playing "It's a Beautiful Morning," by the Rascals, and then you're talking about incoming incoming artillery at the same time.
Along those lines. Not so much in Japan, but unless North Korea's having a little fun there with their missiles. But yeah.
So living in Japan, a little tense there, military wise because of North Korea. Is that something that's pervasive in the service?
Very much is in the Asia Pacific region as a whole. North Korea. I went back to Japan, just to give you a little bit of a segue here. I went back to Japan to lead a military news team across the Asia Pacific as a civilian. The same people rehired me after I got out with my epilepsy. I went to Syracuse University. I got my master's degree, and they rehired me. So when I went back for a second time as a high-ranking civilian, North Korea was playing their games again with the missiles, and I remember I sat down with John Kerry, who was Secretary of State at the time, and talked about it, and it was not a fun time because you just never know what they're up to. I don't even think they know what they're doing. I think they're building these things from trash heaps and then putting them in the air and let's see what happens with a nuclear missile, the tip on the end, and let's see what. And they would crash down, but it's cause for alarm because they really don't know what's going on. I don't think.
Yeah, dangerous stuff. So we're about ready to head into our first commercial break. And when we get back, we're going to take you out of Japan and bring you to the United States. How about that?
Sounds good.
Okay. Well, welcome back. You're listening to No Nonsense Roundtable. We're talking to Christian Garzone today. Garzone, is that Italian?
It is. It was Garzone. Yeah. And I don't really. I'm so anglicized. It's Garzone. It's always been that way. It's fun to say, like a calzone.
Oh yeah,
or garbanzo or something.
Yeah. Or sfiliadelle. That's my thing. You've heard me talk about sfiliadelle all the time, right? That's my test. Say again. Really, a sfiliadelle. Sfiliadelle.
What's that?
It's a clam-shaped pastry. You can get them at Savoia.
Oh, really?
They're very good. Only up until Thursdays, though. So Savoia, they're not a sponsor yet, but I'm always open, always open to suggestions. Well, that's the thing. Italians, we all have the vowel at the end of our.
Yeah, we all do. But my mom's from England, though, so I kind of cancel it. I don't really have the look or anything.
And what was her maiden name?
Sweeney, which is, I believe it's Irish. It means pig or something. It really, I'm not joking. Look it up. It means like pig herder or something. Mom, no offense. I think that's what it means, though. Yeah.
Is she still alive?
Oh, yeah. She's doing great. Does battle ropes and boxing.
That's great. And she's listening to this now?
Yeah, probably. But she's probably nodding her head like, yep, good one, Christian.
Good one. Okay, so what's her first name?
Colette.
Ah, that's a pretty name.
Yeah, I think it means necklace in French or something. Yeah, it really does. I'm pretty sure it means necklace in French. Again, Mom's nodding right now.
Okay, what does Dominic mean?
Lord or something, right?
Oh my God, you're making stuff up.
No,
now.
like Lord of the House or something. Like Dominus, Anno Domini, right? Year of our Lord, Dominic.
The Lord of the Flies. Well, the thing is, a lot of Italian names, we don't know what our Italian name was. We don't know what our real name was because my grandfather came over on the boat and he's in front of the immigration officer and it says, "What's your name?" He says, "Genua." He says, "Genova." He goes, "Close enough."
Yeah.
So that's why, like Kappa Bianco, white hair, Buon Tempo, good weather, whatever it is, and that you ended up with this name. Yeah. And you, if you were smart, you didn't argue with the guy.
Just went along with your business. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think Garzone means boy or apprentice or something.
Yeah, something like that. Well, that's good. Did you do ever want to do the 23andMe or whatever that is?
Oh, my dad did it.
Did he do it?
He did it. My dad has this thing where I think he pushes the Italian thing to the side.
Yeah.
He'll tell me that he's, Teutonic Knight, Anglo-Saxon, and it's like, you look like Tony Danza here. I mean, you're not fooling. I think he did the spit tube test, and the map came back like Tuscany, Lombardy, Sicily, Milano, and he's like, this is wrong. It's all wrong. So, yeah, I mean, you're not fooling anybody, Dad. Yeah.
My wife knows somebody who did that, and all this time that this woman thought she was Italian, and it came back. We have to spit it into the tube. It comes back, and she's Jewish. She goes, all my life. She goes, I'm 90 years old. I spent 90 years as an Italian. I spit in a tube, and all of a sudden I'm Jewish.
Miracle. It's amazing. And my sister did it as well, and she had like a Roma Gypsy came out or something, and then she got an update saying, well, things have changed. And so it was something else to get involved with and look on the map and get excited, and it was,
Well, we're about 3 minutes into the segment. It's about time we start talking about something that listeners would be interested in rather than just you and I shooting the bull. So you were in Japan and you got back to the United States. Did you immediately go into broadcasting then, or?
No, so I got my master's degree from Syracuse University, got a master's degree in documentary film and history after I got back from Japan. And then the military rehired me to lead a military news team across the Asia Pacific. Because, I was already a military journalist while I was active duty. So they said, well, we know you. And they brought me back in. It was a long process. But, I would be in Indonesia, Sri Lanka, Thailand, the Philippines, based out of Japan again, but covering these exercises with other countries and highlighting the sort of President Obama's rebalance to the Asia Pacific and all the partnerships we had there. And I can't say enough good things about the military going into middle of nowhere and building like a community shelter and having dental clinics and ensuring people get access to food. The military does a lot of good around this world. And my job was really to follow the Army, the Navy, whatever it might be, and to highlight the programs they're doing. It would be really touching to see people in the middle of nowhere who have no access to, clean water, proper sewage, sanitation, or whatever, and we'd be there giving them something that would make life a little bit easier for them.
Well, one of the things I learned looking at a presentation online, I know I don't have the details of this right. but there are different types of armed forces. There are some like France is not an expeditionary force. You have some that are basically police forces, right? And you have some that are I don't know what the other categories of them are, but ours is an expeditionary force. So we can project our power across the globe. And with that comes some social responsibility, which we take upon ourselves to, win. What do they call it? Hearts and minds, right?
Yeah, we take it very seriously. That's what I was boots on the ground with a lot of these guys, seeing this stuff firsthand. It's almost like a push and a pull, like a yin and yang or something. When we project this power, we do what we need to do, but also we're there with communities a lot of the times. And, at least what I saw in the Asia Pacific, I can speak to that certainly. And
can I ask you absolutely a serious question?
Yes, sir.
Give me your read on the Afghanistan situation. That whole thing. I mean, I see you shaking your head.
Yeah, I'll take it back.
It looked like from a layman's standpoint, it looked like a complete and total blunder.
It was a complete mess. We should have left like 2,000 troops on the ground and just kept the airport and everything else. But no, we had to pull out the way we did. I knew you can watch this interview on News 8. I knew the wife of one of the main commanders on the ground. Mm-hmm. I got to interview her before Fox and CNN did. And she said, I'll do it because, Christian, it's you. I'll do it for you. And I sat with her in this moment of uncertainty, wondering what the hell's happening to her husband on the ground, if he's okay. And she's here talking to me over Zoom for Channel 8 News. And as this is all unfolding, people falling off planes and people desperately trying to latch on and get the hell out of there. It was I still can't believe it. And the impact on people who served over there. I know people who are veterans who they want to know what was all this for. And I think it was just so President Biden could say, hey, man, we're out of there 20 years later. Great. Mm-hmm. It's like, not really. We should have left a couple thousand on the ground there and just, kind of kept that presence. Because now I think I don't even know what's going on there. I don't hear anything about it. I know the Taliban's back in control, but I can't imagine it's pretty.
Well, the thing is that not to give an opinion about these things, but it seems that there was a point in time where where our word meant something. It's like, I remember one of my favorite stories is that, and it didn't have to do with the military. Remember when Ronald Reagan fired the air traffic controllers?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. I remember hearing about it. I was probably like 3 or something. But yeah.
Well, I'm bartending at 3. But you can't go on strike. I'm going to fire you. No, they're not gonna. No, we will fire you. No. You're fired. Yep, it's like, this guy, I can trust what this guy says, right?
Yep. Yeah, the clip is, if they do not report for work tomorrow morning, and
and that's the thing about drawing a line in the sand, right?
Yeah.
And not really being a line.
Yeah.
So let's get back to something a little bit more, I don't know, more domestic than that. So when did you get your job at Channel 8? Was it the first station you worked at?
Besides the military, it was. I got my job at Channel 8. I did a little stint at the New York Film Academy to get a certification, and I was down there, and the guy who's the current news director now, Rory, he gave me a call to do a job interview. This is 2017 or 2018, and I thought, the chance to be a broadcaster back home, roughly where I'm from. I mean, I remember I was overseas 10,000 miles away running all over the world. Like, I kind of want to just put roots down and do what I love. And what a tremendous opportunity it was to work for News 8 for 5 years. In what my friend Adam Chodak will say, the evening anchor, some of the toughest time in news. COVID, social unrest, record crime. You're talking 2020 to 2022, 23, which has been a really rough time
not a 9 to 5.
Yeah, not a 9 to 5 at all. No, especially the night shift, which I used to work, and that's when all the bad stuff kind of happens. Yeah, and you're out there doing live hits and everything else, and you're working on a couple stories for the day, but then you're pivoting immediately to whatever situation's unfolding. I've seen a lot of parents lose their sons and everything else, and it's.
Okay. So with that, we are going to go into our news break, and we're going to talk to people, about you and the news when we get back. Well, welcome back. We're talking to Christian Garzone, who has had a wonderfully crooked path in life. You're not a crooked person, but you've had a crooked path in life. Wanting to be a bartender when he was a little boy. That's pretty. That's first 260 shows. That's the first time I've heard that. And then, I wanted to be a stand-up comedian.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in sixth grade. I was in first grade, and I had to do my Yogi Bear imitation to all the classes because my nun was like, "You want to do what?" You know, so it's the same thing, something totally absurd. And then working in the military for a while, both as a member of the forces and then as a civilian, and then being in Japan, Indonesia, coming back here, and we got you at Channel 8.
Yeah. Indeed.
Okay, so let's start that with. Tell me about the life of being a reporter, because everybody thinks it's a glamorous thing. You know, you're sitting there, you're walking the red carpet, and you're making $150,000 a year, and everybody, it's not like that, is it?
No. People think, God, everyone would. Boy, you must make a lot of money. Really, we don't. As reporters, we don't make a lot of money, but the job's so incredibly awesome to do. But it's high stress, high energy, things like that. Your day is kind of like you're always looking at the phone, reading emails, reaching out to people. So I would come in with, a story idea or two. I would always love doing stories and helping out the little guy who maybe got screwed by a contractor or something who didn't finish the deck or their fence. I used to love doing those stories. But there's events happening all throughout the day. And as I said in the last segment of the show, 2020 was like anything I think we've experienced in a long time. We had the COVID, the social unrest, the record crime. So you had a lot of meat on the bone for coverage every single day. I think sometimes I would do 3, 4, sometimes 5 stories in a day. I remember there was a day I did 5 stories in a day. Yeah. And it's not like people will come up to me like, oh, they just tell you what to say. Like, no, I'm writing all my scripts.
Yeah.
I'm doing the work. I'm on the ground interviewing people, putting this stuff together. It's just, I think I was very good at taking a bunch of stuff and even like a court case or something and summing it up in 60 seconds for the viewer at home so they can understand it. But boy, that really does drain the juices in the head here when you're trying to take all this stuff day in and day out and compress it down, and you're doing multiple stories a day, and they're not like they're all the same. They're very different topics a lot of the times.
Well, sometimes you got like drinking out of a fire hose.
Yeah.
in those years,
Yeah, for sure. But I wouldn't change it for the world. It was a wonderful experience. And during those tough, challenging times, you all kind of lean on each other. And it was really like a family at News 8. I think they're wonderful people. I have nothing but great things to say about the channel, the station, the people there.
Well, Anita and I have become good friends with Teresa Marsenberg. It's funny that you should say that because that's exactly what she said. Yeah. She says Channel 8's like a family.
It really is. And she's like the mama at nighttime because she was always there. She'd be like a lot of the times like the one female in the room. We'd all say, well, welcome to the locker room, Teresa. Here you are. But it was never that bad. It was always a lot of fun, a lot of ribbing. But we went through so much together that you just kind of, in those moments, you just got to kind of laugh.
Well, I've heard from her that there's some dummies down in the basement or something, or mannequins, or
Eric Sneidel. He'll put these because it's always so dark. He'll do things with like mannequins and put them places to scare you. And one time he was up above the ceiling playing like spooky ghoul sounds in the ceiling tiles. And Teresa knows what's going on. Teresa knows it's Eric above her head creeping up there. Woo! And she just rolls her eyes but it's so funny at the same time. Like, I don't know. I can't explain it.
What are you good? You go to Mannequins Are Us? Or, how does she have these mannequins? You're sure they're not cadavers?
I'm pretty sure. I don't know where they came from.
You're pretty sure they're not cadavers.
I know it's a very old building. It was built in the 40s. So I think those mannequins are from a very long time ago, and pieces of them exist everywhere. But yeah, they're just around for people to use for little pranks and stuff.
It's a cool building. I've been there a number of different times. It was set up to be a radio station. Actually, Wham, right? And then there's seats there. They can, watch you perform and whatever. So, no, it's done in the Art Deco. Thank God they didn't tear it down. I mean, years ago they would have torn that down. I mean, that's what they did with Penn Station. They tore it down. And thank God for Jackie Onassis because you still have the Grand Central Station has been renovated and beautiful.
Looks wonderful.
That's what they do these days. Yeah, that's what they do.
I know we tear a lot of things down in this country. We do when we kind of rebuild it new. You go to Europe, other places, things are around for 1,000 years, and they just become different things. A church is now a bingo hall or something.
That's right. Now, I had a friend of mine that came from England, and he worked for Chrysler. And we were in North Carolina at the time. He says, well, we want to go, we want to go see the Biltmore. He says, well, what's the Biltmore? Well, the Biltmore is this big mansion that the Vanderbilts built and, built in, 1820 and it's big and beautiful and whatever. He goes, 1820. He says, the prep school that I went to was built in 1450. And he goes, this is new construction. I go, I'm not going to go see that. What am I going to go see that for? So tell me some Channel 8 stories. Tell me some, you have to have some goofy story, something that happened is like,
people know this. I used to love sending fake emails to the newsroom, just with, I had some very floppy pancakes at Mel's Diner and get on this story. I would make up these things, a really greasy pizza, and everyone in the newsroom would stop and,
were the emails in that voice?
No, yeah, that's why I type them out. But, I would make these, I always used to love, because you'd stop and see people just stop what they're doing. I'm like, oh my God, who's going to reach out to this? This is ridiculous. I would love doing that. That's kind of the goofy side, because again, when you're in those situations, it's so high. It's the tension is so high because of the coverage of the day and the deadlines and everything else. You got to have fun. So what a great crew to do that with every day, because the work was so demanding. But I'm glad to be away from it at my age now, 42. It's good to take a breath. Well,
the thing about you too is that you have a voice for broadcasting. You also have looks for broadcasting.
Thank you.
I have a voice for radio and a face to match.
We're both shirtless in here, complimenting each other. Thank you.
Well, there's a certain amount of. I guess you would call it, fashion and stuff. You look at Nate Burles in the morning, right? On
yes.
I mean, you look at that guy. It's like, wow, that guy, he's cool, but he's cool looking too. It's just a little bit of this is style, right? Yeah. I mean, I don't know if Walter Cronkite can make it these days.
No, but you're saying I have a style like Nate.
Yeah.
Well, I like that. Thank you very much.
No, he does,
Yeah, I look okay. I got good genes, I think. No one believes I'm 42. Everyone's like, you got to be 30 , right? I'm like, no, I'm 42.
This is the sixth time you said you're 42.
Yeah,
right? You're looking for dates or something?
No, you never know.
Just contact me at nononsenseroundtable.com if you would like to date this person, and I will forward it on to you. Of course, it's going to cost you.
Yeah, no, but I just turned 42 the other day, so that's why it's fresh in my mind. There we
go.
Ding,
7 times.
There's 7 times.
Yeah. Tell me somebody famous that you interviewed.
Oh, God. Dee Snider from Twisted Sister, I think.
Okay.
I mentioned John Kerry, Steve Piercy from Rat, I think.
John Kerry, why is your face so long?
Right, yeah, I know, yeah. He's about 6'5", by the way. I'm not used to looking up because I'm tall as it is, but I'm like, gee, this guy's big. But John Kerry, that was in Tokyo. There's been a lot of people, and I'm trying to remember. Those are my military days. I'm trying to think with News 8. It was a lot of people who are very big figures in the community locally. Mm-hmm. Always humbled to sit down with the county executive or the mayor of Rochester or whatever. These people take the time out to sit with us, and to me, those were heavyweights. Mm-hmm. They were wonderful people.
Yeah, and doing the local news, somebody was saying, I don't know who I had. It might have been Adam. Actually, he said, there's no fake news in local news.
Yeah.
I mean, you get fake news in national news and Fox and and CNN and stuff like that. He says the local news is all news.
Yeah, I agree with that. And people confuse national coverage for local coverage all the time. And they think, well, you did this story last night on. I'm like, we didn't do that story. You're talking about a national newscast, not us. I mean, so yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we're heading into another break, and we're going to see. I always say we're going to see you. We're not going to see you, and you're not going to see us. We will be back, after the break. Well, welcome back. You're listening to the No Nonsense Roundtable. We're here with Christian Garzone, a world traveler, somebody with a very interesting path in life. And how old are you now?
42.
Yes, my bell worked. We were trying to bell at the break, and the bell didn't work. But he's what we had. Every time you say 42, an angel will get its wings.
Yeah, every time I bell. Yeah, what is? Yeah, 42. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Clarence.
Clarence. What a great movie. Anyway, so now you have given up the job of broadcasting, and I guess this is as close as you're getting is the No Nonsense Roundtable right now, right?
Pretty much, yeah. I miss broadcasting, but as you get,
Ooh,
I do miss it.
Ooh, I have an idea.
Yes, sir.
Why don't you co-host with me?
Let's do it.
All you have to do, you have to be like one of those retriever dogs. Just get me good guests and bring them in, and we'll interview them together. But you have to go out and get the person and bring it back. How about that?
And bring a coffee right to your lips and everything.
Yes. No, that would that would be good. There's some people that end up being very good on the radio. We were talking about Jimmy Van Bretterode last week.
Oh,
right?
yes.
He was a great co-host with Denny Wright.
Excellent police chief as well. I miss him very much.
Yeah, straight shooter.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
Well, you would have to be.
There
you go. Now, so let's talk about the Veterans Outreach Center, because you guys do a hell of a lot of good things for our veterans.
Yeah, I mean, right away, people, I think, confuse VOC, Veterans Outreach Center. They think it's the VA, but it's not. When you get out of the military service, you don't automatically qualify for VA care. It's like half of veterans or something.
Really?
No, you don't. You do not. So Veterans Outreach Center helps out all veterans. We serve over 2,000 people a year, just about. In the most simplest terms, I tell people it's a homeless shelter, it's a food bank, it's a thrift store, sort of all in one. It's employment and training. It's for people who are on just the absolute, last rung on the ladder. They just need help so bad. Yeah. You especially see that over Christmas. I saw so much of that. It touches you in a lot of ways. But it's also for people like, say you just get out of the military, you need just a little bit of guidance on how to write a resume or how your military skills transfer to the civilian world. We have all of that there. We help you find a job. We give you the tools you need to go forward. It's a place, if you need a haircut as a veteran, you can get a haircut. There's art therapy, there's men's group, there's women's groups. And we just broke ground on a peer center, which I think is going to be a whole new era for Veterans Outreach Center. It's essentially for mental health crises. And it's going to be open, 3 to 11 at night on weekends when these issues tend to hit the most. It's not 9 to 5. These emergencies often happen, after hours, and we just broke ground on that, and that's going to be open sometime later this year. The Steve Preston Peer Center at VOC. It's a wonderful thing. We still lose, Dom, as you know. The number's not 22, but it's about 17 to 20 veterans a day to suicide across this nation. That's unacceptable. But here we are at Veterans Outreach Center in Rochester, almost like the tip of the spear with this thing, with this new center. And sometimes a veteran, all they need is somebody to understand where they're coming from and a step in the right direction, and they can figure it out. Because somebody told me one time, I was explaining getting out of the military. It's like a checklist you get, and you just get a class or two, and you get out. And someone said to me, "That sounds like getting out of jail." And I said, "Well, I guess it's maybe it's a little similar there, yeah." But you do kind of just get out, and a lot of guys I serve with were leaving a tough situation wherever they were from in the country. They were leaving a tough situation, so they do their 4 years, get out. They're not going to go back to that tough situation. Where do they go? Sometimes that 90-day window between leaving service and figuring life out is very hard, because you can fall into bad habits or make new bad habits. You don't know. So thank God for something like the Veterans Outreach Center in Rochester. That's a resource. People have called it a beacon of light, something like that. So they can come to Veterans Outreach Center when they get out and get that push in the right direction that they need.
Well, one question that I have for you, another serious question, is that I can see the stress that is put on our veterans because they've seen some horrible things. I mean, some of them in the line of action, you've seen some very horrible things. But isn't there a weight on veterans too when you've been involved in something like Iraq or whatever, or Afghanistan, and it's all been for like, why we're not any better off than we were in Afghanistan, and it's like, why did I lose my buddies, and what was this all about? I mean, is that part of it? Is that part of the stress as other than things you see, but the things that maybe you just feel?
Yeah, I would say that's spot on as well. I mean, I think a lot of people my age roughly are wondering about Afghanistan and kind of scratching their heads, especially with that situation. I think Iraq, we've been scratching our heads for a while, but with Afghanistan, it was. We saw that play out before our eyes all over the course of a few days. And I know quite a few people who we've had conversations about it. And we just wonder, what are we doing? As I was saying earlier on in the show, it's not a good situation.
Yeah. Well, thank God there are people like you that are, and doing your job. And, you try to help out as much as you can because it's a problem. It's not going to go away anytime soon.
Yeah.
So let's change things a little bit. Let's talk about, well, I call this the retail section of the show. So let's talk about how to get in touch with you and the Veterans Outreach, or if somebody needs a story written about something or other.
Sure. No, I'm happy to help facilitate anything because a lot of the times, veterans in the community, we have a very large concentration of veterans here in this region, and they might not know that VOC can do anything for them. But look up online. VOCROC.org is the website. You just Google me, you can find me. I'm the only Christian Garzone around. But any questions you might have, you're making that face.
The expression Google me. It's like
you can find everyone else. I think all of Rochester has my number from being on News 8 for years. I think I gave it out to so many people. It's just the phone ding 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 all night. But
well, since you have these talents, you ever do like commercials or ever want to?
No, I don't think I've done any commercials or anything like that. No, I was in
You'll be good as a spokesperson.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. I think in '93 I was in an Adelphia Cable Alarm Systems spot with my grandma.
Oh yeah, I saw that. That was you.
It really
you didn't have the beard back then.
No, I didn't.
No,
I was
right.
very heavy, very husky. It was my mom, my sister, and my grandmother.
Yeah.
And they wanted a lady with an accent, so they got my grandma to do it. Yeah. So that was my big start.
Oh yeah, I don't remember that at all, as one would suspect. And so, what is your plan for the next? This is like a job interview. What's your plan for the next 10 years?
Well, I bought a house in Greece last year, and I have a dog. I'm just trying to. My life has been like Forrest Gump meets Indiana Jones meets Rambo.
Yeah.
All the running around. I really just want to put down roots and kind of just settle for a bit and have a normal 9-to-5 job and have a cause I believe in, like the Veterans Outreach Center. It's a cause I can really get behind and believe in every day. And not that with News 8 was wonderful, but it was so taxing after a while. I had to say, let me just hang up the broadcasting hat for a little bit.
Yeah, a man is made of, three things. I heard one time: you need a cause to fight for, an adventure to partake in, and a family to provide for. And so those three things. This is kind of what makes this up. So now that you are 42,
ding ding,
that's a good path, and it's great to meet you. That's one of the joys of me having this show is that I get to meet people like you that I would not have otherwise met. And like I say, I'm perfectly serious. So you can find me, some interesting people, which I'm sure you've come across some interesting people in your life, and we'll kind of torture them together on air. And it's been a delight to have you on the show, and
it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
And a potential new friend.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
All you kids listening out there, 10 o'clock Saturday, right here on News Radio WHAM 1180. It's the No Nonsense Roundtable.
Thanks for listening. Tune in every weekend from 10 to 11 on News Radio WHAM 1180. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll make more.